Why can birds stand on an electric wire without getting electrocuted, but humans can't? I don't know. Maybe they've asked permission from the people in the village. I don't know. Hello, good morning. It's wonderful to be with you on this terrific Thursday morning. Time for your message from the morning man. Very nice shirt, Mama B. I love that shirt. Anyway, over the weekend, I bumped into an old friend from Cape Coast called Hagan. Now, I met him when I was a teenager. He was a few years older than I was and had recently graduated from Cape Coast Polytechnic. Now, Hagan loved computers. He didn't own one, but you would see him every day at the computer center, just waiting for the workers to give him a few minutes with the machines. Even then, they only allowed him access to the faulty computers. Hagan didn't seem to mind, though. He would simply fix the fault and then use the computer until the end of the day. But by the time he returned the next day, that computer he had repaired would no longer be accessible to him, and he would have to fix himself another broken one. Some of my friends used to laugh at Hagan. Like typical teenagers, they had a cruel sense of humor that caused them to ridicule my poorly dressed, unemployed friend who was always hovering around looking for a job from people who looked down on him. Now, whenever I spoke to him about it, he would say, "Oh, I'm not unemployed, Kuju. I am becoming an employee as we speak." Hagan never got that computer center job. Instead, he was employed by a comm center. Do you remember those comm centers? Yeah, he was employed by a comm center in town as a technician. Now, this was a dream job for Hagan because it meant he had unlimited access to those computers all day long. Whenever I stopped by to see him, he would tell me about all the exciting things he was learning from tinkering with the machines. He had a dream of pursuing a professional career in ICT. Back then, it was referred to as computer science. Yeah. So I asked how he was going to achieve this without any formal training. With his usual smile, he would say, "I'm not untrained, Kojo. I'm becoming trained as we speak." Now, Hagan never saw himself in terms of what he was. He only saw what he could become. He often started sentences with, "What if?" or "Can you imagine?" He cared not about how things were, but how things should be. Hagan reminded me of a verb. He was always doing something, going somewhere, becoming something. Today, Hagan is the director of tech research for a huge South African company. I was so proud of him when I met him yesterday. Now, in that same comm center was another guy named Bonze. Now, Bonze was a very different guy from Hagan. He would always join in on our conversations, but his perspective was different. Bonze would say things like, "I'm a father of three, I can't just leave my family and go to school." Or, "Majority of Ghanaians are barely literate. This computer thing now, it will never catch on." Or, my favorite, "I just work here, I don't own the place." You know, Bonze placed a lot of stock in how things are. He often started sentences with, "Let's face the truth," or "You can't escape the fact that." To him, things were the way they are for a reason, and there was no point trying to change them. Bonze reminded me of a noun. He was always defining his circumstances and sticking to them. Today, Bonze is still in Cape Coast, working at the same comm center. It's called a business center now, and they have added photocopying to their menu of services. My dear friend, for most of us, 2020 has been a challenging year, to put it mildly. And let's not kid ourselves, the worst might still be ahead for us. We can either approach these challenges with the Hagan or the Bonze mindsets. We can either decide that we are what we are, we have what we have, and leave the rest to God, or we can look at our circumstances, refuse to let them define us, and then start doing something to change them. Now, we can either be nouns or we can be verbs. Let me ask you, are you jobless? Is your business failing? Are you still unmarried? Have you tried and failed several times to have a baby? Well, either you give your problems a name and let that name define you, or you ask yourself, "What if?" and let your problems propel you into seeking solutions. So what's it going to be? Noun or verb? Now, as a nation, we faced epic challenges this year. The economy took a beating in 2019, and this year it came into an even bigger battle against COVID-19 with already broken bones. The city has somehow managed to limp along so far, thank goodness, but the banking crisis has stripped our coffers. The virus has decimated businesses, resulting in so much unemployment, and many people will march to the polling stations in November, hungry and jobless, with not much to choose between by way of leadership. There have been health issues, education problems, security difficulties, democratic dilemmas, governance, cock-ups, sanitation, headaches. And on top of all that, every time it rains, we all tremble with fear, asking ourselves, who is going to die tonight? So what are we going to do as a nation? Are we going to look at our label as a middle-income country and say, well, we can't do much, so let's just be grateful we have peace? Or are we going to cast our eye over our challenges and see the infinite opportunities to raise revenue and create jobs just from solving our problems? Will we sit still or will we keep moving? Are we nouns or are we verbs? My name is Kojo Yankson, and I won't just be when I can do. Good morning, Ghana.
Are you a noun or are you a verb?
Oh, I want to be a verb every day of the week. You are looking quite verbal in your wonderful, wonderful shirt. I love that shirt so much.
Listen, I want you to try the biology question.
I gave it a go earlier, you know. So the birds can stand on the thing, hold on to it, no electric shock. Either their claws are made of plastic or
That's your answer?
Or maybe they make a phone call to ECG.
Oh my God.
I can't wait to find out the answer though. I have a feeling I've done better than Maxwell.
Really?
I'll do better than Maxwell on this one. Oh yeah.
Maybe. Could you thank you for the morning message?
Thank you.
Always very inspiring.
It's a pleasure.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's Kojo Yankson. He's off to the Super Morning Show on Joy FM. I'm not saying stop watching me and listen to him, by the way. Stay with us. We've got the AM News coming out right after this. Now, state prosecutors have revealed deceased law professor Yao Bene, who was killed in his home last week, had his mouth stuffed with a piece of cloth, ostensibly to keep him quiet. 4 persons picked up by the police have been charged with murder of the senior law lecturer at the University of Ghana. The 4, 3 cleaners and a houseboy, rendered services at his Ajirin Ghana home, where the lifeless body of Professor Emmanuel Yao Bene was found in the pool of blood last Saturday morning. Court correspondent Joseph Akablay was in court as the charges were filed and reports.
According to prosecutors, the law lecturer was found dead with his hands and legs tied with a rope. A rag had also been stuffed in his mouth. The 4 individuals are persons who worked at the professor's residence and are being held pending further investigations. The charge of murder has been leveled against them. Lawyers for 2 of the accused persons are already challenging the work done by the police investigators. A member of the legal team, Robert Suma, on Wednesday told the court the prosecutors failed to show how the accused persons are connected to the crime. He urged the court to grant them bail, insisting despite being saddened by the death of the lecturer, the police must carry out thorough investigations. State prosecutors opposed the bail application, saying investigations had just commenced and the application was premature. The court, presided over by Eliano Botwe, denied the accused person's bail. The case has been adjourned to September 30 for continuation.
Away from the courts, Ghana is set to vaccinate about 70% of all dogs in the country within 2 weeks as part of efforts to eradicate mediated rabies by 2030. According to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, this global strategic plan, dubbed 0 by 30, has become necessary as statistics show rabies-related deaths in the world is increasing, despite the fact that the fatal disease is preventable. Hannah Dami was at the launch of the campaign and reports.
There are about 2.4 million dogs in Ghana, according to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture Veterinary Services Directorate. Chief Veterinary Officer at the ministry, Dr. William Edukuma, however, says many of these dogs have not been vaccinated. This means the risk of anyone contracting rabies after a bite from any of the non-vaccinated dogs is very high. This is why his office is urging all pet owners to join their rigorous vaccination drive to ensure that at least 70% of dogs in Ghana are free from rabies.
We can only do this if you collaborate. People own animals. So if they don't bring it forward for vaccination, nobody can vaccinate them. If they don't restrain the animals when there's vaccination campaigns, we can vaccinate. So the collaboration is between all the sectors, the stakeholders, the public, the owners, the animal health sector, the human health, people who provide the resources for vaccination, and then the owners. Then we can only achieve the end by vaccinating at the source. The point we should stress is that there might be bite, but if you vaccinate this number, even if you are bitten by a dog, you won't come down with rabies.
He also advocated for review of existing laws on compulsory vaccination of all animal pets.
We need to review some of the bylaws on how you keep animals in the various homes. We have relaxed on that, but it's the responsibility of the district assemblies. How are the laws that are even in existence being enforced? If you choose to keep animals, you have to take care of them.
An 11-year-old student, Rura Matuk, was unveiled the National Rabies Ambassador to help achieve this target.
Be protected. So my aim for this year, until 2020 ends, is to vaccinate 1,000 dogs, and then I will be going to schools and doing presentations to inform them. And so they'll hear it, they'll go tell their parents, oh, I heard this in school, we should do this. It enlightens them.
The national 2 weeks vaccination exercise will begin in Laura in the Upper West region from the 28th of September, and it's on the theme End Rabies, Collaborate, Vaccinate. Hannah Odami for Joy News.
And that's it for the AM News. Time for us to tell you what's in the newspapers. Our court correspondents and my co-reviewer is here, Joseph Akablay. You were in court yesterday.
I sense a lot of mischief. I mean,
how is that?
From Monday to now, I don't remember you introducing me as court correspondent.
Oh, maybe it's because of a headline that I only saw yesterday.
Oh,
in the evening.
That's fine.
And then it has a lot to do with you because you have a lot of experience when it comes to the court's work. You're very familiar. So I wanted to bounce it off you. That's so now that you want us to start from this, can we kindly see the front page of the Chronicle? This is yesterday's paper. It's not today. This is the president of the Ghana Bar Association saying that stop exposing your boobs in courts. I have not had the benefit of the full story.
Okay, so I found a story online.
You found the story.
Yeah, on the chronicle.com.gh.
Okay.
Yeah,
what was the GBA president?
According to him, the legal profession remains one of the most conservative concerning work at he's quoted as saying that, in other words, flashy isn't allowed. The profession has a fairly universal attitude regarding what is considered appropriate and what is not. He indicated that for court work, business casual is never appropriate, even during legal vacation. Mr. Forson explained that the court attire for male lawyers should always consist of a dark-colored suit, a tie, and a properly buttoned shirt, while female lawyers should always wear a dark suit with trousers or knee-length matching shirts. He's quoted as saying, bare legs are never accepted in court, neither are open-toed shoes. Anything flashy such as large, gaudy earrings or sandals are also inappropriate. Whether in court or at the office, lawyers should refrain from showing much skin. Bare arms are generally frowned upon in the office and never appropriate in court. Hair and makeup should be conservative. Last, shirts or blouses should always be buttoned so that the cleavage is never revealed.
Okay. So this is what I wanted to ask you as court correspondent. Do you see some of the things that Mr. Forson was referring to in there? You see boobs?
Okay, that's the question you're actually asking, whether I see boobs. No, I do not see boobs.
Do you see cleavage?
I'm not too sure, but I mean, the one I can easily connect to is the one relating to the skirt that they wear. Sometimes I see some that is quite short. But you know, when they are moving, they tend to, because they have the rope, they tend to close it this way. And so for that, I can speak for. But cleavage, boobs, I haven't paid attention. Maybe I'm not.
Well, you're not as experienced as he is. I mean,
yes, certainly. He has
many years
standing at the bar.
Exactly.
So, maybe it's something that he's seen, or perhaps has been brought to his attention.
Okay. Just open your eyes a bit wider when you go to court so that we can appreciate where the GBA president is
Maybe
from.
to the, you know, when we go, we sit at the back.
Oh,
And
okay.
you know, so there is the bench, then there's the bar, then we are at the
Okay.
back. And so I actually see their backs. So maybe that explains it. But like you said, I'll pay attention more, and I'm sure
Okay.
later on we'll be able to confirm or deny what is being said. But I don't know how the lawyers feel about this. I mean, I saw a lot of comments on social media coming from women interest groups, mostly those, the feminists. Some of them were complaining about the comments. They think they are in very bad taste. They don't think that the GBA president should be talking about such things.
I was actually a bit surprised because I know how conservative this area of, this kind of profession is. And I was thinking that even in the professional school, it is regulated. Who the courts where you see the judge sitting there where they can tell you what they wanted to do, they can put you in your right position. So I was a bit surprised. That's why I wanted to ask you. Since you go to courts, me, I don't go to courts. So now that we've cleared that, let's come to today's papers. The Ghanaian Times, the Daily Graphic, the Vanguard, Business Finder. This is the Daily Searchlight, the Business and Financial Times. I see Joseph with the Daily Guide, the Daily Dispatch, the usual suspects. So let's start with you, Joe.
The front page has Nana building 98 bungalows for judges. That's a photograph of some justices of the High Court who have been sworn in. There's already some controversy surrounding one of the judges. We are told he was the MPP's parliamentary candidate in the 2016 election for a constituency in the Volta region, and I've already seen some posts by some members of the NDC raising issues about that. I'm sure when we do the details later, we can pull that up. Mali coup leaders meet Rawlings, also on the front page. I saw someone post this photograph and add that the coup leaders are having a meeting. I wasn't too sure whether he was referring to just Malians or our own Papa J.
Yeah, but that won't be fair, right? That won't be fair.
Policeman grabbed for robbery, also on the front page. NDC punches NPP in Ashanti. Another story you can find in the Daily Guide. The back page has this story about Bill. It appears lots of clubs are interested in him. And club ban from noise making also on the back page of the Daily Guide. We can do the Dispatch, then I'll end with the Statesman. The Daily Dispatch says government to take a decision next month on legalization of Okada business. I heard the vice president yesterday say that they don't intend to legalize it. And Mali's military leaders call on Rawlings. This is the photograph that I was talking about on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. It has Papa J in the middle, flanked by 2 soldiers from Mali.
4.
Okay, so 2 here, 2 here.
Yes.
Making 4. Yeah.
But this is also very significant. I didn't quite like the comment that you said somebody made.
Yeah, I said the coup makers are meeting.
We know that there's, the situation in Mali is quite fluid.
These are all coup makers.
But we know the reason they came to Ghana, and we know the reason the former president's intervention will also be crucial, because if he can speak their language and get them to, understand things and be open to the suggestions that are coming up, especially with the directive that ECOWAS is given, that will help a lot.
In fact, when I saw, when I read that the coup guys were coming into the country, I actually thought that the government or the ECOWAS, for that matter, would have involved him because he's someone who, has undertaken a coup before. One, he has handed over to a civilian government before. He has again done a coup and again handed over to a constitutional system in which he actually won the election. And so he's someone who has seen all phases of things. And so he will be able to speak to them and explain to them why this should be the path that they should all go. The military should stay in the barracks, like it's always been the message. And so I guess that is the message he put across to them.
Yes, and that's why I thought this meeting was really, really important. Because I guess a soldier can speak to a soldier in a way that you and I cannot, because we're just civilians.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. At the back page of the Dispatch has that story about the legalization of Okada. Government to take a decision next month. And government releases 3.5 billion cedis to settle outstanding claims of depositors of collapsed financial institutions, also on the back page. The last one for me will be the Daily Statesman. It has a big boost for judiciary as government builds 98 new courts and bungalows for judges. And 100% cash payment to depositors of collapsed entities starts, also on the front page. And Ewuku, the youth of Ghana can't trust Mahama. That is coming from the MPP Sami Ewuku. The back page has that Gareth Bale story. And people thought I got to Marseille and Black Stars because of my dad. is coming from Crystal Palace striker Jordan Ayew.
Yeah, what if it was his dad?
At least over the period, he has proved that he is a great player.
Exactly.
Fantastic goal scorer.
But you know, we all need somebody to introduce us to someone.
Yeah.
So if that's what the father did.
I was in church. The pastor said, "No one goes through the Father unless through the Son." And so.
Thank you.
After you go through the Father, through the Son, you have to justify that opportunity that you've been given, and that's what he did in this case.
Yeah. Do you know the number of people who are waiting to get somebody to just see them and introduce them to someone, or show them the way?
Yeah.
How is that a bad person if it's your father?
Yeah.
What's the role of a father, by the way, or a mother? All this hard work, all this wahala, is to make it easier for our children. If that's not your focus, then you have to check yourself again. Yeah. All right, let's do the Ghanaian Times. Front page of the Ghanaian Times, 25,000 MCMEs to receive financial support under COVID-19 Recovery Resilience Program. Training of professional dispatch riders better than legalizing Okada. So this debate, it didn't just stay in the NDC's manifesto, and it didn't just get a few people to talk. It's actually gone further than that, and we're discussing this like 1 week after the manifesto launch and all. Well, even after, weeks after they made that disclosure. Law against domestic workers abuse passed. I did mention this, and I promised to share a bit with you. So this is the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations in collaboration with Parliament of Ghana passing the Labour Domestic Workers Regulations 2020. Okay, what am I saying? I'm just reading what the paper is written, but essentially Parliament has passed the law. It has nothing to do with the ministry. Well, to establish a governance framework for the regulation of domestic work and ensure full labor protection for domestic workers. The new regulation requires the employer and the domestic worker to enter into a written contract of employment, which will stipulate the conditions of service and related matters. This was disclosed by the Minister of Employment, Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafo Iwa, yesterday when he took his turn at the periodic Meets the Press series. And then there's a source quoting that in 2015, according to the Labour Force report, 1,944 domestic workers that sustained injuries in the course of their employment, none received compensation from their employers for injuries suffered at the workplace. Okay, so it goes on. You can continue to read, but I guess this is really good where you have a written contract with a domestic worker where there are injuries recorded. You have to duly compensate. I think sometimes it's not even sometimes, I guess most often, a lot of us are very mean, like what you won't do to your own child, you do to another person simply because they're helping you in your home. And they are so crucial. Like some of us can't live if we didn't have extra supports. And unfortunately, we don't look after them as people who contribute greatly to our lives. So this law you have to take a look at. We will be discussing this matter later on in the course of our show, so we can highlight and tell you exactly what the law is and how domestic workers stand to benefit. Ghana's cocoa risk EU market ban over forest reserves destruction and Galamsey. That's the banner headline, actually. And then the story about the 16 High Court judges in the center spread of the Times. As part of measures to address the infrastructure and accommodation challenges of the judiciary, the government is constructing 98 courts and bungalows across the country for judges. President Akufo-Addo has said at the swearing-in of 16 High Court judges at the Jubilee House in Accra yesterday. President Akufo-Addo said the court and accommodation projects were being constructed in all 16 regions of the country. We will come back with that issue with one of these judges that Joseph hinted. And then we will try and see if we can go through the qualification for being a High Court judge and if the reason being raised is justifiable, maybe. On the back page of the Times, $321 million pharmaceutical pack for Dawa. 3-tier Tardy interchange began as the construction works have begun, according to the paper, on a 3 tier PTC interchange projects at the Kwame Nkrumah roundabout in Takoradi, the Western region. There's a Kwame Nkrumah roundabout in Takoradi? Has it always been Kwame Nkrumah roundabout?
I don't know about it.
I lived in Takoradi for a number of years. Where is that roundabout? I call in Natalia for me. I lived in Takoradi for what, 3 years or 4 years? Never heard about Kwame Nkrumah roundabout. I want to ask Ina. The Daily Graphic newspaper front page, cocoa farmers to earn 21% more for produce. And then on the Okada debate, government to provide vehicle owning option, according to Dr. Baumia. You made reference to this, Joseph Akable. Yes. I guess the other angle, and this was also in our AM News a while ago, is the fact that he's recommending that they buy vehicles. And I was thinking, what the motorbike does is not the same as what the vehicle can do. I mean, there's a reason people prefer to use the motorbikes. There's a reason, you know, if you're dispatching something, for instance, it's easier for you to do with a motorbike because they don't have to sit in traffic like the regular vehicles would do. So I'm not sure if that's a fair option.
Is the traffic challenges that we are facing.
Yeah. So because I don't know if it's a convenient move, actually, to say that if you can afford a vehicle, then buy the vehicle and drop the motorbike. I'm not sure. Those who patronize the motorbikes will continue to. After all, there are still options and ways to get around, but they still opt for that. Yeah. But the other issue is the emphatic statement with the NPP not going the legalizing or regulating it that way. So it's actually very different from what the NDC had said, which is very clear. Now we don't have similar policies, if you like. But what is contradictory is what the transport minister himself had said before, which was that they were still consulting.
Was underway, and
they were still consulting. But I guess once the vice president has spoken, what the minister said cannot be, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I saw Kwame Nkrumah circle Takoradi, and I thought, let's get our correspondent, Natalia Kwanzaa, to ask, because I've lived in Takoradi for a number of years. I don't know Kwame Nkrumah circle. Ina, good morning.
Good morning, Mama V.
Ina, we called this morning just to be sure where the Kwame Nkrumah roundabout in Takoradi is. Can you help?
Yes, Mama V. So that is what most people in Takoradi call Ajib. But the real name is supposed to be Kwame Nkrumah roundabout.
Okay, so where, again, because you say Ajib, I know, but let people understand where that is.
Okay, so if you are coming from Accra, entering Takoradi, before you get to the Central Business District, this is a famous roundabout, just about, let's say, 2 minutes walk from the Takoradi Jubilee Park. That is where we have the Ajib there. And also now we have the Takoradi Mall closer to where Ajib is. So it is the first roundabout you see when you are coming from Accra or you are coming from the Western North region.
Okay, so this is from Paipano straight, that roundabout you meet before.
Sure.
Okay, all right. Natalia Kwanzaa, thank you very much. That's our Western region correspondent helping us locate Kwame Nkrumah roundabout. You see, on paper, they've got the real names, and then we name the places.
Yeah, we call them the way we are comfortable with them.
All right, okay, so let's go through the center spread, the Daily Graphic newspaper. Here we go. Government constructs more courts, bungalows for judges, NBSSI. That's the a COVID-19 recovery and resilience program for micro, small, and medium enterprises led by the National Board for Small-Scale Industries in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation has been launched. Details of that committee on employment insurance scheme setup. Also in the center spread on the back page, work begins on destroyed portions of Bolgatanga Boku Highway. 2 horrific accidents claimed 24 lives in 2 days. 2 days, 24 lives. 24 lives and the many other lives that depended on these 24. We haven't even counted. And there are still a number of them who are battling right now. All right, let's do the Business Finder. Front page of the Business Finder says 90 million Ghana cedis for 25,000 businesses to cushion micro, small and medium enterprises. On COVID-19, economy contracts 3.2% in second quarter, first in 37 years. COVID was definitely going to have a huge impact. I don't know why some people think that we were not going to be affected, because the news came with some kind of surprise, like other economies elsewhere, more resilient economies, they've been hit really hard. There was no way we were going to escape this.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And the best you can do is to try and minimize its impact and try and find a way around it and minimize importation and find local solutions. And I guess that is what government has been trying to do, and we just hope that we're able to recover quickly.
Yeah. Joseph, let's talk about the judge before we go to my online.
Okay, so the NDC's deputy youth organizer actually posted that among the newly appointed High Court judges is Ernest Yao Geu, who as recent as 2016 was the MPP parliamentary candidate for Ho Central. And he goes on to say that the president is bastardizing our institutions with unbridled partisanship. But he also attaches the campaign poster for this particular justices that he claims contested in the 2016 election. But in terms of the requirements that you were talking about, if you go to Article 139 downwards, that deals with the High Court composition and qualification, it makes the point that the qualification has to do with high moral character, proven integrity, and at least 10 years standing as a lawyer. And so, I mean, I don't know under which of these you put the partisanship. Also, we know that in times past, individuals who belong to political parties have made it onto the bench, including as high as the Supreme Court. If you recall, Justice Gabriel Poman, he's still on the Supreme Court. He was a General Secretary of the PNC, but he made it onto the Supreme Court as a judge. And so that also brings it in. It appears that if you are not appointing, you know how the politicians go about their things. But, I mean, the question we should be asking ourselves is, the High Court, like the President in his speech said yesterday, is the court where a bulk of disputes are resolved. And so the question we should be asking ourselves is, will people be comfortable assuming there is an election dispute and it goes to the High Court, or there is a matter involving the EC or involving two different political parties and it goes to the High Court? Will you be comfortable appearing before such a judge? And that is the ultimate question that we need to ask. And so even though the requirements may not fall within, it's about whether people will be comfortable with that, and that is what the conversation should be around.
I appreciate this point. I think is really crucial. Let's all think about it. But you were also in court yesterday, the issue with the law professor and the fact that 4 persons have been put behind bars. Well, they've actually been taken to the prison, right? They're on remand.
They've been remanded into prison custody. And I mean, just for the records, the facts of the case doesn't link them to the crime. Normally, the facts of the case explains why Mama V has been arrested. The facts that were read in court had nothing to do with that. It only makes the point that these are individuals who were domestic workers of the man. On Saturday, he was found dead. They were subsequently picked up. Investigations are ongoing. And so, very early days yet. And the question that we keep asking is that within 48 hours, should our police force not get to the level where a determination is made as to whether these are individuals we should be holding or not? Must we always go and have them kept? Because it can happen to anyone. All what has to happen is you live in a house with someone and the person dies, you are the first suspect, and once they pick you up, within 48 hours, they can't make that determination. They charge you with murder if you are not fortunate. For some of them, their faces are already in the papers, unfortunately.
Yes, and they take you to a court at a time like this, and then the court will say, well, we don't have the power to let you go. So where do you make that appeal and let go? But yesterday we talked about the fact that it's easy for them to hold you and investigate. Why not finish investigations and then you can actually arrest people who are truly connected to the crime?
If you are taking crime scene management serious and all those issues seriously, I mean, within 48 hours, you should be able to quickly rule out, I mean, these individuals, or say that, okay, I suspect you've done something, so that once you go to the court, there should be something substantial, not facts of the case that simply recounts that this person works here and someone has died in the house, and so because of that, we are taking it to court. I think it's somewhere, and it will be remanded till September 30th.
Yes.
We've seen it happen many times, even with the Major Mahama death, they arrested as many as 66 people. But eventually, when it got to trial, just 14. Some of them were in court for at least 2 months. And there's nothing against them.
Absolutely. Well, we'll leave you so that you can be thinking, grab the newspapers if you can from the newsstands. Go to myjoyonline.com. We've got plenty of stories there as well. We have a Healthy Thursday conversation on the childhood cancers. We're looking at how much our National Health Insurance Scheme covers this area as well. And we will tell you, listen, true stories, parents and children who are suffering simply because they can't raise sometimes 2,500 for them to be cured. And our insurance scheme also barely covers this. So we'll be sharing that human interest story with you here on the AM Show. Of course, we've got the Voters' Voice, but we have to bring you sports. Joseph Akable is back tomorrow with us on The Review. Stay with the AM Show.
From athletics, let us now move to some football news, where the Executive Council member of the Ghana Football Association, Nana Adro-Safo, has described the promise of the NDC to pay each Ghanaian Premier League player if they are voted into power as good news, provided it is feasible. He said that per the minimum wage in Ghana, it's cut off at 350 cedis, so paying 1,500 would be a boost to the football industry. There's more in the following report.
Communications Director of the National Democratic Congress, Shami Jemfi, revealed the intent of the largest opposition party to give each Ghana Premier League player 1,500 Ghana cedis should they be given the mandate to govern the country in the next 4 years. This move, many believe, will help curtail the mass exodus of players from the domestic league. Executive Council member of the football governing body in the country, Nana Adro-Safo, speaking to Joy Sports, said such financial support for players in the country would come as a plus.
I think it's really a very good news to us if only it's going to be feasible. If it's going to be possible, yes, it's the best news we've ever heard since we started doing football, that the government is going to pay at least 1,500 to a player at the minimum. I think if it comes to pass, it will be the best thing.
Explaining why he believes 1,500 Ghana cedis for each Ghana Premier League player should be enough, he said the minimum wage for each player locally is 350 Ghana cedis.
You know, this one, they are putting a cap at 1,500 Ghana cedis. And we, as at now, have the cap to be 350 Ghana cedis. That's the minimum wage that everybody should take in Ghana. So if this one should come to pass, I think it's a laudable one, because I don't see anything wrong with any of the aspirants saying they want to pay 1,500 Ghana cedis to each and every football player in the Premier League, because MPP have done it by paying 500 Ghana cedis to girls, females. Clubs, Premier clubs, 30 each in all the clubs. So I think they will be able to do it, and NDC says they're also going to do it. It is feasible. Where we're going to get the funding is the problem, but I think it's feasible. So
many people have attributed the exodus of players from the domestic league as a result of a poor remuneration.
Fences are obaba, but so far, name day MPP for one free cases. I call ye pa abwa abatanoma, one so won't be nadin so. While born one a cat, able to me, Janadina to Abama.
Nina, so don't tell me now your bats. The now don't like wedding carry free SHS, so I hope there what one and I continue. Still my endings over baby. Oh, the more who do free such as what I boy cool. Mamma be a minisco, be a only be no so 2 hours school be, but the lot to iron too because of one. It's about too far. I
say about your education. About your education. That one is why more vote. Because of the free education, that's why you can get vote. Free education, but one problem or the problem I say all the free education from there. Also more jobs which come, but I will not see the more jobs. I'm a young person, yeah, break. The more jobs, one dam, one factory. That's one I know on here.
Also, be able to Ababi or hair or but I been tina or to Aba. Okay, free senior high in Kwan, yeah, free senior high quanti, mammy, mention survival. As a madabani, me quite mamma, Bamagazine, both to the Kitami, and go yam, mamma. And just come here, free senior high in Kwan, to Abama, dear, and then ye,
yes, yes, and they are wow for Mao for Kuma, high or movie because me, Minyaba, Konoko, Okobi. Every always school when ya, yes, if you say, I can't even follow call.
That I mean, free senior school to Abakra. Yes, Niama me can say, Nanado, Chemasia Bre magazine, pa, Mananadua, Babi or the Messi, medium and Musuba, Kukra, medium Nimses, and another crab of them.
Mean, so and to Abama, maybe, because oh here the government of Ghana na se kwan amofaso eruli Ghana obi aba oye na afomudie na Sebio say if you are coming to ask for us to vote for you again and I say we di policy fufu bi eba ansa na yato aba ma
4 years me end no na wa wie sa free education na dia aka bia 4 years ne kan ho a obetuma complete the office o ye bia. Oh, to me free education is very good. Yeah, very good. Obi aka say enye good obo because abo me manko bi no ntre se emo obi me manko bi but bi mu wo machi o mbetumi akobi eye se na nado did free education aba Ghana ha ne me kan kwakwasi ane se na nimdie nimu a even kwadwuma kura no untime nye ena secondly free education a mini bi ne atwam Kwame Nkrumah de ba Ghana ha no enam so ama nipa pi binum kura wa amanmu a free education a Kwame Nkrumah de bere ne ama banya sa position na binum ka se enye no to me say obi bi sam say free education no eya na say nya me menya nka free education kwanti ka Ghana fo nyina nto abama MPP aban
wa be yehu de oya mai ase every day when you some hoy nim kasa what does there Kenyahe ba ni na mo ba kan mo ka je san ye fe boto yes up music Dabi
ne free cases no akọ ye pa aboa abatan no ma won so woni bi na ade no so wa aboa wan ka tie betumi ye gina de na ye da to aba ma kofa
ni na so o de tom ni na yakubat na now na like wedding kai free SHS so I hope there what to am na why continue cinema ending so baba be o de mo hu die free SHS so da ba o kulo mama obia na ma minis ko obia oni bi no so watu akọ school ni bi but zero to ayon to because of on it's about to for asonje
and say obeja free education so obeja free education so that one it's why more vote because of the free education that's why you can get vote free education but one problem or the problem I say all the free education from there also more jobs which come but I will not see the more jobs I'm a young numbers yeah break the more jobs no one dam one factory that one I know on here
also be able to aba be o he o botaye bi nti na ere o to aba okay free senior high in Kwan yeah free senior high quanti mammy mention survival as a madabani me kwadwuma ma ba magazine say both to the Kitami and go yam mamma and just come here free senior high in Kwan to Abama dia and then ye
yes yes and they are wow for ma for Kuma high or movie because me Minyaba Konoko Okobi every always school when ya yes if you say I can't even follow call
that I mean, free senior school to Abakra. Yes, Niama me can say, Nanado, Chemasia Bre magazine, pa, Mananadua, Babi or the Messi, medium and Musuba, Kukra, medium Nimses, and another crab of them, sir.
Mean, so and to Abama, maybe. Government of Ghana na se kwan amofaso eruli Ghana obi aba oye na afomudie na Sebio say if you are coming to ask for us to vote for you again and I say we di policy fufu bi eba ansa na yato aba ma
Voters' voices from Techiman and Takoradi. And the very simple question that we asked, will free senior high school influence your votes? Let's speak to a research consultant with the CDD, Gilfred Isiama Boateng. Good morning to you, sir. If you can hear me, welcome to the conversation.
Good morning, Mamavi, and thanks for having me.
Okay, great. I'm sure you are listening to those voices. First of all, how significant is what they've had to contribute to this conversation?
Well, I think their voices matter a lot. Government crafts some of these policies to address the needs and concerns of citizens, and then going back to the streets and talking to citizens, their reflections about what government has done so far as education policy is concerned. I think it's very good and it's quite commendable. And again, it's also very good for government to know the feedback and also the opposition party to know what people think so far as their proposals to reform and improve our education is concerned.
When you hear people say, well, maybe I didn't directly benefit from this free senior high school, but somebody else in my family or somebody else that I know benefited. Are they saying this because, essentially what I'm asking is, how do you differentiate between somebody who appreciates the policy and appreciates the impact it is making, therefore it will influence that person's votes, from a person who simply loves the party and likes the fact that there is a certain policy that is beneficial to a certain group of people?
Well, so even both of them. The first one, let me address the people who love the party and they are happy that their government is improving the lives of the people, or they are proposing credible policy alternatives and policy proposals that will help improve the livelihood of the people. So that is one, and certainly people always will align to the preferences of their political parties. The second one, you also talking about people who are direct beneficiaries, where they have people that they take care of who are benefiting from such policies. These people have witnessed, or they can tell you the cost they have saved and all the burden that have taken off them through the implementation of these policies. And again, even people who are telling you, I am not a direct beneficiary, but I know other people who are benefiting from these policies. You may not conclude that these are just expressing their partisan preferences. We know people depend on other people in this country, even your members of parliament, your politicians. And not just that, if you are seen as well-to-do a little bit in your community, you will see people trooping in every now and then to look for assistance. So when you see government implementing some of these policies and you enjoy it, even though you are not a direct beneficiary, you don't have your sibling or your ward or any family member, you are also enjoying the policy because the people who would have come to you to seek for assistance, they are not coming anymore because government has provided the free alternative for them to go ahead with their lives.
Okay. Now, how important is this policy? How important would it be going forward into the election? Essentially, would this win someone the election?
Well, so it wouldn't be just one policy. And I think the people that we spoke to stated their views. Others believe that, education is paramount to them. They have benefited from it, and they think because of that, they will vote for the government. Others also believe that education alone cannot determine who they are going to vote for. And usually, it's not one thing that convinces voters to make a particular choice. Sometimes it's a combination of factors. When you look at the previous surveys that have been done, and even Afrobarometer survey, one of the key issues that people were raising, you had infrastructure, which was general among the populace. When you come to the youth, the key thing or the most pressing need of the youth, as at the time that we did Afrobarometer last year, was job creation, was unemployment. They wanted the government to address, or any other political party that want to win power to address some of these issues. Education was certainly part of it. So you have a gamut of things that are most pressing to Ghanaians. So you have to consider all these things before you would know how far you need to go to get people to vote for you. But certainly education has been one of the top priorities of Ghanaians over the years.
So I've lost my job, but my child is enjoying free SHS. So I have lost, I'm losing, but I have gained. And I'm gaining. How are we measuring how such a person would vote? Is there anything like that?
Well, that is a dilemma, and I think it's a dilemma that people would always have to contend and make the choices for themselves. It's not even just, it's everything. You may be seeing developments and you will realize that maybe your rights is also being infringed upon. Where do you take sides? So you need to just evaluate it and see if what the government is doing satisfies you most, and whether you believe going forward the policies that they are proposing will benefit or will satisfy the other needs that you haven't seen. So you just need to evaluate. Others will say, well, I have seen improvement in this. I'm now enjoying the free senior high school, but I don't think you have a credible policy to address unemployment. And I see the other party coming out with a credible policy. So, well, I think I want to enjoy both. So once the free senior high school has come to stay, then I can shift quickly and then go for the other alternative to solve my unemployment problem. So these are choices that Ghanaians would have to consider the proposals by the various political parties and then make the decision for themselves. But it's a hard one, I must say.
So finally, when I speak to persons of knowledge like yourself coming from the area of research, I like to ask what key question or questions that the people can pose to these politicians who are promising all these good things, if you like. What should we ask them in terms of a follow-up specific to the area of education?
Well, I think we need timelines for the things that they propose. And nowadays that we are having our political parties becoming more committed to their manifesto promises, one thing that we also need to add is the resources available to implement some of these promises. The resources available to implement some of these promises and where they want to see the country after the implementation of some of these policies. We think we need these milestones to guide us and to make sure that the political parties are very prepared as they promise, and then they will be able to deliver at the end of their tenure. So I think these are basic questions that we need to press these political parties and then ask them.
Okay. Well, we thank you for your time. There's a conversation to have with you a bit later on, following from that briefing you had yesterday on some of the major policies and the follow-ups that you've made.
Yes, certainly.
Okay. All right.
Certainly.
All right. Thank you very much for your time this morning. As a research consultant with the CDD Ghana, Mr. Gilfred Isiama Boateng. That's it for Voters' Voice today. It is back on air on Tuesday next week, God willing. We've got the conversation on the childhood cancers coming up.
He announced his retirement after spending 14 years representing the people of Tamale Central constituency. On the exit, we hear the story of Inusa Abdullahi Bistav Fusaini.
My story is a comedy of errors.
And there are a few controversies to clear up too.
Are you also still being investigated for taking double salary as MP and minister then?
I never took double salary.
And then you know those memories that never go away.
Yes, so even Delegate Katun without
He announced his retirement after spending 14 years representing the people of Tamale Central constituency. On the exit, we hear the story of Inusa Abdullahi Bistav Fusaini.
My story is a comedy of errors.
And there are a few controversies to clear up too.
Are you also still being investigated for taking double salary as MP and minister then?
I never took double salary.
And then you know those memories that never go away.
Yes, so even delegate cartooned me. That was the time that they believed that they cartooned me being put in the dustbin.
In 2010, Mr. Fusaini lost his wife.
She invested and reposed a lot of trust in the police hospital. When it was time for them to show her love, they left her on a bench to die.
And what does he make of the parliament he's leaving behind?
Committees engaging in supervisory jurisdiction of parliament in ways that clearly shows that they are interested in some gains.
And at 58, he's got an incredible stamina too.
Just when you jump out of the bed, straight away.
Having been under the leadership of 4 different speakers of parliament, he has got a favorite.
My favorite clearly is...
Don't miss the exit with Mama V. Osu Abuaje on Joy News.
I am Nana Ama Iyaba the First, the Queen Mother of Efutu and Kronti Hima of the Ogwa traditional area. There is this story about this woman who people would not want to sell to her because her husband had been exposed. This is not good. Anybody who had gone into such a condition had already been traumatized. And so if the person is stigmatized, it's like adding insults to injuries. We should rather show affection to them. We should embrace them. Please, let us stop stigmatization because it kills.
There are some issues that go beyond the political divide.
This is what news means to us on News Desk. We separate facts.
6-year-old doesn't know he's a male and a female. Really?
From opinions, noise, and rhetoric. Within that stories, features, and compelling analysis of the news. In politics.
And it will not happen. Not in this country.
Business. Education. Health. We believe in reporting all sides of the news. It's unbiased, fair, and credible news on Joy News Desk.
Childhood Cancer Awareness Month this September, and we've shared with you, if you've been following, some tidbits on childhood cancers in general. I'm sure you probably saw the fact that sometimes it can take as little as 2,500 Ghana cedis and sometimes as much as 35,000. But how much of our NHIS covers this area as well? It will be part of our conversation as we speak to Dr. Tina Shandoff. She's a pediatrician with the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. And by the way, how many of our facilities are fully, in terms of up-to-date facilities to cater for children who suffer from cancers? We'll also be getting into this area. So, Doc, good morning. Thank you for being here. I wanted to hear, because you're coming from Korle Bu, wanted to hear some of the stories that you have witnessed, what has come to your attention at Korle Bu in terms of childhood cancers. Let's start from that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mama V. Thank you for having me, and greetings to all your viewers. As you know, childhood cancer, it's cancer that affects children, and it affects anybody of any socioeconomic status, of any color, of any race. And it's unpredictable. You can't tell who would have the cancer. In Korle Bu, ideally, every year, we're expected to have about 300,000 cases in the whole of Ghana. But we see just 1/3 of that number, meaning that 70% are either at home or don't even know that it is probably cancer. And we have so many patients coming from different parts of the country, also outside of Ghana, because Korle Bu is one of the major referral centers in West Africa. So we have cases from Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and other countries. And most people come at the very late stages. First of all, because of not knowing that it was a cancer and probably doing other interventions apart from coming to the hospital. And most come without money because it's quite expensive. By the time they come, all their finances are exhausted and there's very little left for them to even feed on. So it becomes a very big challenge. And childhood cancer there are different types, affecting different parts of the body, from the brain to the eye, to the kidneys, to the bones. Every part of the body can be affected. And before we start the treatment, we need to investigate to make sure we know the type of cancer to give the right treatment. And the minimum for just investigating the cancer can be as little as 2,500 to 3,000 Ghana cedis.
Wait, that's investigating?
Just investigating.
I thought that's treatments.
No, because you have to do the scans to find out where the cancer is. You need to take a piece of the cancer to the lab for them to find out the particular cancer that it is. You also need to do other labs, make sure your kidney is fine, your liver is fine, because the medications we are given are very powerful medications, and we need to make sure everything is fine. If there's a problem, we adjust the doses. So just for investigation, it can cost as much as 2,500. And how many of us can afford that kind of money just for investigation before the treatment? And unfortunately, most parents cannot afford that, and we tend to rely on donors, rely on philanthropists.
Doesn't the NHIS cover this?
So unfortunately, it doesn't cover. It doesn't cover childhood cancers. No, at all.
Not even the investigation?
Not even the investigations. Unlike adult cancers like breast cancers, prostate cancers, cervical cancers, which are covered by the NHIS, children have been, unfortunately, overlooked, and they are not on the insurance. However, some of the medications that we give for childhood cancers are similar to those that we give in adulthood cancers. So it becomes, and even the doses are quite smaller based on the weight of the children. So it's very, very important that we prioritize them because they are future, and we need to make sure that childhood cancers are put on the National Health Insurance Scheme so that many parents and many children can survive and live their fulfilling lives. And childhood cancer, unlike adulthood cancer, which is due to risk factors, maybe smoking, drinking, it's usually due to a genetic makeup of the child being born with that defect. But fortunately, God willing, childhood cancers are curable. And that's
totally
totally curable if you come early. But unfortunately, most of the population don't know that. Once they hear cancer, it's like a death sentence. But it's not like the adulthood cancers. It's different. It's curable. And it's sad seeing many patients come in with very curable cancers, either coming in late or coming in with no money to even do the investigations. And it saddens you, it breaks your heart, because you know you can cure this. So we really need it on the NHIS to help the parents and the children.
How early can a child get cancer?
So usually cancer is an abnormal growth of your cells, whichever part of the body it is. And with children, unlike adults where there are risk factors, maybe smoking, drinking, and all that, with children, they are born with it. So the cancer has already started whilst we're born. However, the expression may take time. But you can have young children as the first week of life. A mother will notice there is a dot in the child's eye, but maybe think that it's nothing. But that is the start of a cancer. And when you pick it at that age, we've seen very lovely, beautiful children. We are able to pick it early. There was a mother who had a child with a dot in the eye. She thought it was normal. She never paid attention to it. And by the time she finally came, it was very, very late. So we couldn't save the child. But God willing.
What was she thinking initially, and what did people say to her was wrong?
So initially she didn't bother because there was no pain. There was nothing wrong with the child. So this is
just a dot, you say?
Just a whitish spot in the eye.
Okay.
Yes. So once you see this, it's something that should alert you to see a doctor so the child can be saved. Because by the time, by the end of the time, you realize that the child will end up with a swollen eye, and then it's very difficult to save. Fortunately, this mother had another child after the first one. And this time she noticed it early and came to the hospital. And this child is alive, going to school, living his fruitful life. So it's very treatable, it's very curable, but we need to advocate for early presentation and then to help the parents to include it in the National Health Insurance Scheme so that doesn't deter them from coming to the hospital.
Absolutely. So apart from the eye, the dots, is there anything else that can show that will tell you the parent something?
Yes, so there are various signs and symptoms for cancer, but they sometimes mimic other diseases. So it's very difficult to pick them up. But there are certain things you should look out for. So we have an acronym, the SILI-1, with S are symptoms that are persisting. Maybe a temperature for more than 2 weeks that has not responded to antibiotics or antimalarials, you know that you should bring to the hospital.
Okay.
Or persistent headache for more than 2 weeks, persistent vomiting, persistent bone pain, you should bring to the hospital. And for the eye, is the eye symptoms. If the child has a whitish spot, or if the child has a squint, when he is looking, one eye is looking one way, the other is looking the other way. Or if the child has bulging eyes, but that is very, very late. Then for the L, any lump from the head of your, from the crown of your head to the sole of your foot, any lump that you find that is abnormal, bring to the hospital. You unexplained symptoms, maybe a persistent fever or unexplained weight loss, unexplained sweating, abnormal sweating, you should bring to the hospital. Or if they have aches and pains, which are persistent, bring to the hospital. Or if they have neurological signs like headaches or change in handwriting or change in the way they are walking.
Change in handwriting?
Yeah, even change in handwriting, which is very subtle. If you don't really look at your child's handwriting or check, you might not pick it up. But that's one of the signs you can tell that this child may have, for example, a brain cancer or change in the way they walk or persistent headaches or vomiting, early morning vomiting. Then you know that you need to bring the child to the hospital as soon as possible.
Let me bring in Dr. Laurentia Owusu-Osei-Tutu, who is an oncologist also at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Okay, all right. So that's a nurse who is also in this area, obviously oncology. Good morning to you. Thank you for your time on the show. There you are. Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. So, we're just trying to understand some of the stories that come to you. You're also really close in this area. We've heard about the symptoms, and I'm thinking that it might be really difficult in a child, since that if it's a child that cannot express him or herself, how can the parent be convinced that I need a second opinion? Because not every facility has the right equipment to even do the initial investigations. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. But every mother has some instincts, and the maternal instinct should tell you that whatever we are caring, for a particular time, a mother should be convinced that things are not right with me. If the facility who is taking care of you is not referring, every mother has the right to ask for referral. Sometimes a mother may be prompt, take the child to hospital, has been going for treatment, but then the symptoms keep coming. You have the right to ask for referral to seek further management in a bigger facility like Kolebu or any other hospital. Yeah.
Okay. And I understand, Dr. Shandorf, you can help me out, because I understand that the facilities that are well equipped, Kolebu and Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, we've looked at the signs, what can prompt a parent, you know, to get their child checked. We've talked about the cost. I want us to spend a bit of time there. So what happens if you go to the hospital, say you've done your initial check, you've seen a specialist, and now you know, you've been told that your child has a certain type of cancer. What do you do? What else do you do?
Okay, so usually with the diagnosis of cancer, it's very detrimental to the family and to the child. So we have meetings, we have counseling sessions with the parents to explain to them that, well, this is a cancer, but this is curable, and this is what we are going to do. Okay, so usually it starts with a counseling session for the parents and the family to put them at ease and explain the details of the cancer. So once we are able to diagnose the cancer, we need to start treatment as soon as possible. Okay, the treatment can vary. For some cancers, we need to do surgery with medications, that the chemotherapy, and with some, we need to add radiotherapy. So some cancers, the shortest duration for treatment may be 6 months. Others too, we can go as long as 2 to 3 years for the cancers of the blood. So it all depends on the treatment. But during those periods, usually the child doesn't spend all the 6 months or all the 2 years in the hospital. So we start the initial treatment. Child gets better after some time, and then if the parents live around, then they can be coming for their treatments. Some of the treatments are weekly, some are 2 weekly, some are monthly. So the parents need to be around the hospital vicinity, just in case of any emergency, they can come in. However, those who come from far, from other regions outside of Accra or other countries outside Ghana, we usually encourage them, we let them live in the mother's hostel, where they receive their treatments from there. But however, during that period, it means that the parent can't work. The parent needs to take care of the child.
Can take care of other children.
And can take care of other children at home. So it's a vicious cycle. And the money that they don't have, they can't even raise more to take care of the current child and those at home. So it becomes a burden onto them. We have a beading class where we help them to learn a trade like beading, beads, so that they could sell and make some money out of it, and also occupy themselves and emotionally relieve their worries as well. So that is the basic thing we do. But the treatment depends on the type of cancer, and the minimum duration is like 6 months, and then the maximum is up to like 3 years.
To treat?
To treat.
Okay. I want to come to you, Madam Laurentia Owusu Osei-Tutu, who's joining us via Zoom on this conversation. Tell about some of the stories that and I'm sure that you have more mothers coming than men.
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the things that they share? What are some of the challenges, their difficulties that they tell you?
Some of the mothers have a lot of difficulties, financial constraints and all that. Because most of them, by the time they get to Kolebu, they might have gone to other hospitals, spent a lot on their child. So they might have wasted a lot of resources. So they come in and they have no money at all, especially if for the investigation. And our investigations are quite expensive. The MRIs, the scans, the various labs. So it becomes very difficult for them. Some might have even gone to the prayer camps and all that. Their monies get finished before they are being told to go to Kolebu.
Yeah. So do you have experiences where some people come and they can't afford, so they simply, even though the child is really sick, they just have to take them away?
Yes, some cannot afford anything at all. And even though there are times there is support, some mothers feel reluctant to ask because they feel shy and all that. Like, they are human beings. Some people still have their egos and all that, if even they don't have money. So it becomes difficult assessing. Some of these parents, if they think they cannot afford the things are expensive, they may go, and some even abscond, like they run away from the hospital because of the cost. Some may go and will not even come back.
And leave their children?
No, sometimes they go with their children. We've heard about few instances that some left their children with us. And then we had to call in, and then that the particular parents who brought their children never came. They had other relatives came in for them. And with this, you know already that they don't have money. So the cost and everything is on the ward. So we have to depend on the few resources other people have helped us with.
I'll come back to you.
So the issue of national health insurance come in again, that we beg the government and other stakeholders that they put their children's cancer treatment on the insurance, because the producers are on insurance, but the product is not on insurance. Like the female reproductive and the male reproductive cancers are on insurance, but the outcome, which is the child, is not on insurance, and it's quite dicey. We really need to be on insurance as well.
I'll come back to you with the kind of support, because I know that Dr. Chandop, this is not, if you're treating cancer, it's not just one specialist. You need quite a number of, so I'll come back so that you can explain. But let's stay on the issue with affordability and costs and the fact that the NHIS doesn't cover it. You've explained that sometimes just the investigations could cost like 2,500. It could even cost a lot more depending on the type of cancer that is discovered in the child. Does the issue of some parents leaving their children?
Yes.
I'm worried about parents leaving and not even returning again. What happens to such children? Is there a follow-up? I mean, I know that there's a lot that you want to do, but you also be constrained in the way. But what happens after that?
Yeah. So it's common. Sometimes it's very understandable because parents feel they are not able to work to take care of their children. So most of them, I mean, the excuse is they want to go and work, get some money before coming, but then they leave the children with us with no money, no food. So most of the time, we take care, our social welfare takes care of the children and then takes care of the treatment. But then this child needs to go back to a home. So we usually call the numbers that we have to try and get any relative that's around. But most of the time, it might seem unreasonable, but if you understand them and the challenges they are going through, you would bear with them. Because we do not go blaming them, we just try and find out the reason why they left the child and try and help them as well. So it's a dicey situation to be in, but we try as much as possible to still take care of the children whilst they are there and then look for the parents or any other relative available.
I guess, first of all, knowing that you have a child that is even sick in the first place, you would deal with yourself in the way you probably be asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Yeah. Why is it that my child is unwell even from the very beginning? So I guess there are some psychological things that, say a mother will be going through. Yeah. And then you realize that it will also cost you a lot of money that you don't have to treat that child. So you'll be thinking, okay, why don't I just leave the child in the hospital? After all, they won't have a choice than to take care of the child.
And there's a lot of stigma and religious beliefs around cancer. I mean, a lot of pastors will say maybe your child is cursed or your family is cursed or you have done this or you have done that. So all that also has an impact on the patient, the parents staying. So we try as much as possible to counsel early and to let them understand that this is not spiritual. This is not a fault of yours or your husband or your mother or your grandmother somewhere. It's something that happens, and it happens to African children, it happens to Asian children, it happens to American children. Any child can get it. So we try as early as possible to disabuse them of the fact that, oh, it's spiritual. The pastor has told me to leave the child, that the child is a curse, and all those things. So we try as much as possible to disabuse them of that. But the money is the major issue.
So let me just activate the phone lines so we can have people join us. If you've got questions or comments, kindly give us a call on 0302-211-6910, 0302-211-6910. What would it mean if the NHIS covered this area?
It will bring a big relief to the parents, and then it will help the children to get treatment faster. And once parents know that, oh, this is on insurance, to present earlier to the hospital. Like, for example, malaria. Most people know that malaria drugs are on insurance. So when the child has a fever, mother has insurance, they rush to the hospital. There's no delay, much delay. But with the cancers, once the mother starts suspecting or she's been told from peripheral hospital, then she starts folding her arms because she knows that, no, this is going to cost me a fortune. But if it's on the NHIS, these children can be cured of their cancers, can live productive life, and this will relieve the parents of the burden because it's quite expensive, and it's not everybody who can afford. Even those who can afford, they get to a time where they are economically fatigued. So putting it on the NHIS is very, very important. And as Laurentia said, the producers are on the insurance, and we need just a little volume of the medications they're also using to treat the children. So we need to let the children also be on the insurance.
Okay. Let's go to Laurentia on Zoom, and let's talk about the kind of support that you also bring in terms of your expertise for a child with cancer. But before you start answering that, let's go to the phone lines and speak to Ahmed. Ahmed is in Aflao. Good morning, Ahmed.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I would say it's very pathetic and it's very serious what we're going through. Myself, I'm a leukemia patient, and I'm going through a lot, and I've seen exactly what the nurses want. I think the other lady on Skype or Zoom, you said,
on Zoom.
The doctor. Yeah. Sometimes, trust me, you see things you couldn't imagine. And I normally visit the daycare hematologist under the one at Central Lab.
Okay.
And they bring these children for what they call the bone marrow. My sister, sometimes I shed tears. And what the cost of treatment is something we really, really come there. I'm ALL, leukemia ALL. That's what I'm going through. And the kids they bring normally for bone marrow. I don't know, but I think within the southern zone it's only in big daycare that they do the bone marrow transplant to determine what kind of cancer the kids have and the kind of pain and trauma they go through. It's not easy. Not talk about the cost involved. So the government can really, really do something. If we the adults can be off, it's fine, but if they could at least help the kids, put them on the NHIS, I think it will help a lot. It will really, really help a lot. Well, because the cost of treatment is really, really, really expensive.
Well,
the whole thing, I think, is about the cost now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The sickness has already, the kids are already infected. They've already been diagnosed. So if there is a way government or anybody could help reduce the cost of treatment for the kids, I know it will help.
Well,
some of the adults can't even bear the cost, but we adults, at least, we could go through the trauma a little bit. But the kids, we're talking about the whole family involved. So if government can do something, if we adults can come on to, we'll be happy. But I will really appreciate and beg if anybody can help do something with the kids. It will really help because I've seen it and I've shed tears for kids.
Ahmed, thank you very much for adding your voice to this. It's really important coming from a place of experience that you share with us. Let's talk to Selina. Selina is in Cape Coast. Good morning, Selina.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's hear you.
Okay. Please, I want to ask a question. I want to ask Doctor something. Please, my sister had a bone of cancer of the bone and then delivered with it. I don't know if there is the tendency of the child being infected.
Doc, did you understand the question? Selena, please come again.
My sister had a bone, cancer of the bone.
Okay.
And then she delivered.
Okay. She delivered.
Okay.
She delivered. So I want to ask, is there the tendency of the child being infected with it?
Okay. All right. Great question, Selena. She'll get you the answer. But let's stay in Cape Coast. We've got Jane joining us. Good morning, Jane.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, Jane. Thanks for calling me on air. Let's hear you.
All right. My name is Jane, and unfortunately, I lost my daughter to Wilms tumor on the 2nd of July.
We're so sorry to hear that.
Yes, of 2020, yes, this year. And I would want to add my voice to the call on government to even not take the whole cost of treatment, at least subsidize it for mothers, for parents whose children are battling cancer. It is very expensive for the diagnosis and then the treatment. So most mothers, the moment they hear that, take your child to Kolebu or Komfanochi, they stay home with their children because they cannot afford treatment. I'm also pleading with the government to try as much as possible and set up pediatric onco units in all of the teaching hospitals, because I've met parents who travel from as far back as Elubo, that is the western border region, coming to Kolebu for treatment for their children. And if you've had to put your child in a public transport battling this condition, all the way from western region, central region, to Accra for treatment, that alone is a deterrent for mothers or for parents who don't have the resources. So I, as a mother who lost a child less than 3 months ago, I'm adding my voice to this call, and I'm also calling on parents to bring their child as early as possible. If you don't have money, take the child. I know that Kolebu have systems that in some way they are supporting children. Those in Western and Central region too, by God's grace, we started something small at Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. You can bring them in, we take care of them. If we cannot afford, we'll put it out there, then people will help. Childhood cancer is real. Well, it is not rare. It's very real. And in Ghana, as the doctor was saying, 1,300 kids are expected to be diagnosed with cancer, but only 300 of them present to the hospital. So where are the 1,000 children? Why are the other 1,000? It means that they are dying.
Well, Jane, I see that you are into advocacy, obviously, after the experience. Can you leave your number with my producer so we can get in touch and carry this conversation? Yes, so thank you really for reaching out. Not to remind you of your painful experience, but, you know, you've come out to share your personal experience, and we absolutely appreciate it. Ethel is in Begro. Good morning, Ethel.
Good morning.
Yes, Ethel, thank you for calling.
My own is to find out if I can get support for a child. Just recently, when we were going for the vaccination exercise, we saw a child with a very big head. I don't know whether it's hydrocephalus or what. I'm not quite sure. Maybe the doctor can help me out. But I wish we can support that child. That's why I'm calling you. If I can link up, I'll be able to support that child.
Okay, so where did you spot this child?
It's in one of our remote villages. I'm calling from Fantiapa North District.
Okay.
And the capital is Begro.
Okay. How old is this child?
7 months.
7 months. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. Ethel, we'll take your contacts as well. Okay. So just hold on and speak to my producer. Can we address Selina's issue?
Yes. Yes. So thank you, Selina, for your question. It's a very important question. So yes, some cancers are genetic. But however, it doesn't mean that maybe you had bone cancer, so the child would necessarily have bone cancer. It may be another type of cancer. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that once you've had a cancer, it's automatic that your children will get cancer. Because we've had patients who have fought cancer, have given birth to children, and they are absolutely normal. So with an experience of cancer, the best thing is to make sure your child is screened for any type of cancer. Okay, so some are genetic, some like eye cancer. So if you've had a child with an eye cancer, you need to make sure that you screen any other child that you get. Or if you've had breast cancer before, the cancer gene is possible to be in the family. So you need to screen the children for any other cancers.
Okay.
But once you've had a cancer, I want to stress that fact that it's not automatic that, or once you've had a cancer, all your children will have cancer. You may have a cancer, but all your children may be normal. And you may have a cancer and the children may have cancer.
How early should you do the screening?
As soon as you give birth, try and do the screening. Try and let the child be fully examined by the doctor. And if you see any any signs that you're suspicious of, come as soon as possible. For the child to be screened.
So Selina is in Cape Coast. Can she do it in Cape Coast?
Yes, so she can do it in Cape Coast. We have we are establishing an oncology team there. Yeah, they are also taking care of children. So she can go straight away to Cape Coast to have the child examined.
Okay, let's speak to Lukman. Good morning, Lukman.
Good morning, please. I'm calling from Kumbungu district in the northern region.
Okay, great.
I want to find out from Dr. and see, we the community nurses and the nurses that goes on outrages, should in case we miss such cases, what do we do? And what do we tell the mothers? And where do they seek help?
Okay. Well, that's a very good question, Lukman. It's similar to what Ethel also observed. Yes.
Yes. So it's very important that the community nurses who are within the community pick up these signs and symptoms, because they are the ones that will help us to be able to pick them up from the community. So first of all, when you pick them up, disabuse them of the thoughts that this is spiritual or this is their fault, and then refer them appropriately to either Korle Bu, Komfo Anokye, or Cape Coast, whichever one is close to them. That's the issue. Once they hear that it's Korle Bu or Komfo Anokye, it's like, hey, no, then my child is going to die.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily so, because if you come early, most people, because of the fear of the big hospital, they stay and do other things, herbals and spiritual things. And by the time they come, it's very, very late. So we are really entreating the public health nurses to go on the advocacy and educate them of the early signs. And once they see, please refer them and reassure them that once it's early, childhood cancer is curable and the child will live a normal life to his 70 or 80 years that God has given that child.
Let me bounce this off, Laurentia, so that you can speak to your colleagues in the other regions who are asking lots of questions. What would you tell them?
Please, can I get the question again?
Oh, I was asking what you would say to your colleagues in the other regions who don't have the resources like you do at Korle Bu or Komfo Anokye or even Cape Coast. How can they support families like that?
The support we get from at Korle Bu is from some individuals and some organizations. Like ICGC is supporting us, WCC supports us, some other churches, Emmanuel Methodist, some churches.
Okay.
So we advocate that individuals who are well-to-do should come in and help, because there's nothing much we can do as health workers, especially if somebody comes and the cost. It may take a whole year's salary to treat one person. And it will be really difficult if I have to use my salary. So we just have to depend on others, like NGOs, organizations, and well-to-do individuals. So we are just calling on everybody that the fight is not for us alone. Everybody should come on board. Let's fight for these heroes, because they do go through a lot to stand the fight. So all we can do to help them is to give in our financial resources. The parents are giving their time, nurses and doctors are giving knowledge, and skills. And the children are also fighting with their strength. All that is needed is the finances, governments, individuals, and others who can help.
Yeah.
Please come in and help us.
So, Laurentia, let me ask you a personal question. What's your specific expertise, and how do you help a child with cancer recover?
My skills, personally, I have a very good sense of humor.
Okay.
Sometimes some parents just need to smile. And yesterday or 3 days ago at work, I managed to make a child smile. I wish I could show the picture here. This child came in a severe distress. We've done all we can just to see him smile. And it was so nice, and it was overwhelming to get this child smile. And it was something else. To see a child who has gone through a lot smile through the pain that he has been going through. I wish I could share this all outside. I may share the picture with the producer.
Okay.
And
yes.
Sometimes too, some of them, by virtue of the fact that you are able to talk to them, they're able to tell you something personal about themselves, which goes a long way to help in their treatment, because they may not feel comfortable going to talk to a doctor for money. But then if they're able to help you. The other times I personally go and get provisions for some of them.
Okay.
I support some of them with my private insurance card. If there's some drugs that I needed to purchase, probably I purchased it and I didn't use it again. I give it out.
Okay. Okay.
At times I personally buy drugs for them. So do other health workers do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Laurentia, we thank you for sharing, and I'll just let you go so you can send that picture to my producer. We really want to see. But God bless you for what you do, and your colleagues as well. Dr. Shandov, how important, in fact, how much funding do you even have? Because for now you have to rely solely on what the donations of others. How far does it go?
So it's challenging. I mean, there's as much as everybody can do. People come and donate. I mean, as organizations, non-governmental organizations, private institutions come, but they can't help everybody. Some help one child at a time. Some help with the nutrition, because they need to be well nourished for these medications. Some help with medications. Some help with other aspects of the treatment. But I entreat all of us as much as possible to get on board, because this is our future.
Absolutely.
And the children, we don't know who the next president is among them, and we need to protect our future.
Yeah.
And as much as the people think that cancer is contagious, it is not contagious. When you come into contact with the children, you are not going to get cancer. Childhood cancer is not contagious, but your love and your care for them is. So it's important that we all put our hands on deck. And I really plead with the government to help us relieve the burden on the parents and the children who are fighting very, very, very hard by trying to put the childhood cancers on the insurance, because it's very disheartening to see a child die of something that is so curable.
Yeah. Well, we're going to join in the advocacy. Fortunately, we have Jane's number. Jane called from Cape Coast with a personal story to share. So we're going to be following up, and we will continue to speak so that this covers. I mean, you never know who would need help.
Yes.
You and I are sitting here today.
We're
thinking we can afford, but wait until it happens to you, and then you realize where the real need is. Yeah. So thank you for your time, for sharing with us, and thank you for the work that you also do in the facility. Well. There's a number that you leave with us so people can get in contact with you. So we'll share that number with you. Two things we are sharing from Korle Bu: the picture that Laurentia promised us of the child that finally got him or her to smile, and then the number to Korle Bu so that you can also get support if there are questions that you want to ask following this conversation. But right now, let's go to our roving man, Emmanuel Koranteng, from the stands, where he speaks to patrons of newspapers on current happenings in the country.
Of the regular Ghanaian people to the main news headlines. what are the trending stories? What are their takeaways from the trending stories? And really, do they have any judgment to pass on the stories? I'm here at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, if you like, Kwame Nkrumah Interchange, here in Accra, by the AME newsstand. As you're seeing, quite a number of headlines really that we're seeing, from the debate on the legalization of Okada to the uprising in Mali and the visitation to former President Jerry John Rawlings. We're also seeing, you know, Mahama vowing to pursue Ahmed Suale's killers. But all these stories are trending in the dailies, and fortunately for me, this morning I've been able to, you know, catch up with a few of the patrons who are here to you know, talk to the stories. Hey, my boss, good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Great. I see you've come here to look at the papers.
Yes.
Is that a regular thing you do?
Yes. I'm always doing it.
You always come to look at the papers?
Great. Yes.
But what sort of stories interest you? We see people, I don't like politics, I don't like, you know, what stories interest you?
Please, my name is Ebenezer Kurubire. Then I'm seeing some of Mali armed forces with Roris. And then for them, our leaders, they don't help us. That is why they are making coup every time. You see, our leaders, they don't help us. They are always cheating us. That is why. So, for me, I'm advising our leaders to do something about it so that the coup will stop. If not
that coup d'etat was in Mali, and they accuse the government of not being up to task and weak. You think that there's something like that in Ghana?
Yeah. It's the same thing like Ghana. It's not Ghana alone. It's all West African. They are not helping us. They are not helping us. That is why they are doing that in Mali. Then Ghana too is the same thing. They are not helping us.
The government is not helping.
They're not helping us.
But I mean, we've seen free SHS, we've seen one district, one dam, one district, one factory, all these things. When coronavirus came, government gave 6 straight months of electricity for free, water for free, and so on. These are not helping.
Water for free, not all of it where we have water, not all of it where we have light. All of our light there is helping us small, but the water, it can't cover everywhere. So that one, even that one is not helping us.
Even that one is not helping you.
No.
Boss, he's saying that the uprising in Mali, as we saw it earlier in August, is as a result of the fact that African leaders, mentioned specifically West African leaders, are not helping the citizens. And so eventually, I mean, they get fed up and they rebel against the government. You agree with that?
I disagree, because, you know, Africa continent, our problem already, we are not like Europe. So if you can't compare us to Europe, we are now growing. So everything is small. Not once, but it's small. But the government is doing better things. Because look at COVID, it's conquered everywhere in the whole world. He's doing his best to help us. So
you think that the government in Ghana is doing enough to assist the citizens?
He is doing well. In some parts. He can't do everything, but he's doing his part. Look at the COVID. Some of the African countries are not like Ghanaian. Right. Yes, so he's doing well.
So the government is doing well. I'll ask you a critical question about whether or not the free SHS, in itself, is something that will inform, your vote in December, because you're talking about government doing well and so on. But I'll come back. I saw you earlier point to the Okada story. We got at the NDC promised that, you know what, when we come, we are going to legalize Okada and regulate it. The NPP at the time said, you know what, this is too risky and so on. Then later, we got a statement from the Transport Ministry saying that they were engaging stakeholders in legalizing it. Just yesterday, Vice President Bawumia says that, you know what, we are not legalizing, and it's reported on the Daily. In fact, the Daybreak quotes that Nana won't legalize Okada and addresses that to Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And so that's it. What's your reaction to that?
In fact, this one, who am I going to? Because Bawumia said they will not. Then Akufo say you legalize. Even if they legalize, they will get the credit to Mahama. They should stop. Then Mahama can't do his work. Okay. They should stop.
You think the NPP should forget about it?
They forget. Even if they legalize, then the credit is going to Mahama.
Okay.
Because he was promised that he will come to legalize Okada. Then, but when I say they will not do it, then this one is just they need vote.
Okay, you think they just need vote?
They just need vote.
Okay.
But they are not going to do anything about it.
I want to ask you what exactly you think about this Okada debate, so that people have raised concerns about safety, people have raised concerns about how risky and so on it is, and all that. You personally, do you think that the Okada thing is something that we should be looking at?
The Okada, because they're not legalized, that is why they are creating some problems. Because if they are going to read this in traffic light, maybe they mean that the police will stop them and collect their money. That is why. But if they are maintained to legalize it, then they're doing the right way, it will go through. Because if they are legalized it, then they give us some numbers. Maybe if they are doing something, maybe police will not cut them. Then it will go smoothly.
It will go smoothly. I don't know what you think about it. He says that, you know what, legalize it, regulate it, and then it will be better.
Yeah, it's good for Okada to legalize because the traffic in the town, but they have to obey the traffic regulation. That's my opinion. If they obey the traffic regulation, it's good because it's good for the youth. Most of the youth don't have job, so that one they are doing to take care of themselves. So it's good for Okada to legalize.
It's good for Okada to be legalized, but the Vice President says that, you know what, Nana wants to do it.
Oh, well, it's mine. But if Nana do it, it will help the youth.
So for you think Nana should?
Yes, I think Nana should legalize it.
What's that amount to, you know, as it were, appropriating somebody's manifesto promise? In fact, when the NDC promised that it was going to legalize Okada business, we got a lot of NBP folks saying that it was too risky, it's too dangerous, the alternative is scary. In fact, Vice President Bawumia says that what they're going to do is to lease out vehicles to the Okada riders so that they don't have to, you know, be sitting on the motorbikes. They have to sit in a vehicle. That seems to be a better option, you don't think?
Yes. If that will come, that will be better. Okay. Not for Okada. So if that come on, it's good.
When you say that, you mean the leasing of the vehicle?
Yeah.
They should give them their vehicles.
Yeah.
But that has implications for traffic. Because even now that, you know, not every Okada rider has a car, traffic in town is massive. In Accra, in a rush hour in Accra, the traffic in town is crazy. And really, if every other Okada rider is to get a vehicle, what is going to happen to our roads? Maybe you'll not even move from Alajo to Seko in 30 minutes.
If you go to Togo, there's Okada there, but they obey the traffic. Here they don't obey the traffic. That's our problem. They don't obey the traffic. That's our problem.
But if you put obeying the traffic, like my very good friend here said, he said that, well, let's legalize it. They will obey the traffic, and that's better. But Bawumia says that, no, we won't legalize it. We're going to lease vehicles to you. And when we give you the vehicles, it's safer. But that also has implications on traffic. So that if everybody is sitting in a car, who will move or who to come?
You know, Ghana, one of our major problems is, I know this man. If policeman catch you right now, you will call somebody. That's our problem. So Okada is Okada. It's good. But the law, they have to know the law. That's my problem.
That's your problem. Great. And I was going to ask, because earlier you're talking about how you know, well the government is performing. Is free SHS something that you're going to consider in terms of, you know, going to vote in a poll?
Amazing. It's amazing. Because free SHS, it helped me a lot. I can't.
Why, did you go to free SHS?
No. By my small kids are there. Most of my friends, sometimes they come because most of them, their fathers are not good. By sometimes I give them 50, 100. By now, because of free HS, everything is normal. So free HS, I will vote for Nana because of free HS.
You will vote for Nana because of free HS. My boss, will you vote for Nana because of free HS?
No.
But why?
No, now
over 1 million students are going to school for free. That's huge.
The free is not the free. The free is fine, but the double track.
Okay.
Like he cancelled the double track, I vote for him.
Okay.
But because of the double track is condemn our education sector. Okay. They pay for a chair to go to school 3 months, then you can't sit in the home 3 months. Then you providing the classroom.
And that's our roving man, Manuel Kranting, reporting live there from the stands. Watch out, he may be very close to you the next time. So now you know what people are talking, how interested they are with the newspaper. Let's get down to some national science and math quiz. And to our biology, it's a Biology Thursday, our trivial question. Here we go with the question of the day. And then afterwards, of course, my guest, I have a teacher in the studio from Presec, Solomon Jedida Bidiako Frimpong, a biology teacher, Presec Legon. And I asked this question from the very beginning of the show. Kojo Yangsing tried. He didn't really trick me. He gave a typical Ghanaian response to the answer. It can only be witchcraft for a bird to stand on an electronic wire that would electrocute a human being, but it wouldn't do same to the bird. By the way, that's actually the history to even the National Science and Maths quiz. Let's check out the question again. So why can birds stand on a live electric wire without getting electrocuted, but human beings cannot do same? We'll check out the response that we got from Facebook, and then we gave a WhatsApp number so you can post your answers there as well. When that is ready, we will let you see what people are saying. But good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, madam. Actually, I'm an old student of Presec and a former quiz contestant.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, a former contestant, 2011.
Yeah, by the time the quiz didn't come on. So we are hungry and we are capable.
Oh, really?
For the quiz. Yeah.
Oh, good to know. But listen, is this a very difficult question?
It's not too difficult, but it is technical.
Okay.
Because it has a mixture of a bit of physics and then biology.
Ah.
Yeah.
Just this
question. Because it has got to do with electricity, electric poles, current flowing.
Okay.
So there's a law in physics known as the Ohm's law, which I would like to quote or paraphrase. So it talks about the fact that the current passing through a metallic conductor between two ends of a metallic conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference, that is the voltage difference across the ends of that same wire or conductor.
Okay.
So without a potential difference, can I use the word
Yes,
now?
please do.
Yes. So without a potential difference, which we call PD, we cannot have current flowing. Current, okay? So this law states inversely that proportionally that I is proportional to V. And so when you want to use this into an equation form, you have V is equal to K, which is a constant, multiplying I. We did this in basic proportions. So this is a direct proportion. So this K here is what we found that it is resistance R. So in physics now, we have this. So in summary, we have V is equal to IR, which every secondary school science students knows that this is Ohm's law.
Okay.
Ohm's law. Okay. So this is the potential difference or the voltage. I is the current and R is the resistance.
Okay.
Now current always flows through the path of least resistance. So if the bed is standing on a single wire, the bed is standing on a single wire, the path of least resistance compared to the bed, which is made up of cells and tissues. So let's say this is our electric pole, and this is one line. So this is our electric pole, and then we have a bed perching here. So this is our bed. Yes.
Okay.
So this is our bed. Let's say it has its wings around. Forgive my drawing. So this is our bed standing on the electric pole. This is the path of least resistance compared to the cells and tissues that a bed is made of. So the caveat here is that if the bed is standing on a single wire, there's no potential difference, which I call the PD, to allow current to come in, to flow.
Okay.
So the circuit is not closed on the bed, but is closed on the wire and is transmitted along.
Okay.
Now, the feet of the bed also is made up of keratin and certain scales that provide some form of resistance to it. So it doesn't allow it to conduct. It serves as an insulation pad. That's what everybody knows in general. But there's more to it. This same bed, if it happens to flout out its wings, such that, let's say we have a bat, and then the bed hangs this way with the legs now this way. Okay, and let's say this is our bat, the body of our bat here, like that. And then the wings goes out that way. Okay. Now we know the bat has wings that fans out. So we have, let's say, another one that way. Yeah. And then we have the eyes of the bat here, and then let's say the mouth here, like that. And this is our bat. And then this wings is on another electric wire this way. Then we have a potential difference created because they carry different voltage.
Okay.
So once that is established, then current can now flow, and the bat will now close the circuit. So we have two types of circuits: the open circuit
and the closed
and the closed circuit. Open circuit doesn't allow electricity or current to flow through. And then the closed circuit means that it's complete. So we have incomplete or open, and then we have the closed or the complete circuit.
Okay.
So this is incomplete, and this is complete. So in this case, unfortunately for our bat, it will be electrocuted.
Okay.
Because there's a potential difference across, and there are two different voltages, V1 for here and let's say V2 passing through.
Okay.
Now the last case is, let's say this part of the post of the electric pole is not wooden, and let's say it's metallic, and then the bed stands or perches here. If the bed should perch here this time round, and this is the earth surface, there's a potential difference between this metallic pole here and then the earth surface. So there will be a potential difference created between the electric pole, the metallic pole, and then the earth surface, causing the grounding or the falling of potential from the metallic pole into the earth, and that will create another circuit, and that will be a complete circuit, and the bed will be electrocuted.
So this is no witchcraft.
This is no witchcraft. So we have three case scenarios.
Yeah.
And the extent of electrocution depends on how much current is flowing through the system, and then also the overall voltage of the electric wires and the electrical system.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have loved to show you the answers. And I usually say, oh, it's easy for somebody to go and bring me some answer from somewhere. But this is actually the question that the person who first dreamt of the National Science and Maths Quiz, this is the scenario that he saw, that, you know, out of which we've seen the National Science and Maths Quiz now in its 25 years. Just a curious question of a bed on an electric wire and why it is not electrocuted. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, before I leave.
Yes, there's something that you do which is interesting. You are engaging our young ones.
Yes, so we demystify and explain science and health through a show we call the Science Digest Show on YouTube. So you just type Science Digest Show, and then you get a lot of explanations and a lot of scientists coming on board. We try to also bridge the gap between science and entrepreneurship. So we create what we call the Sciencepreneur. And then we also have a virtual learning platform, which is
brain education.
Yes, brainwork education. Yeah, brainwork education. In case you want to be on any of these, you can reach us. Brainwork virtual education. Virtual.
And this is for JHS and
JHS, secondary school,
high?
pre-medical school.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can reach us on these numbers.
Please.
Let me put them there. 054-859-3815 or 055-459-7625.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we will have you again. I like the simplicity, the way you've explained this for every person to understand.
Sure, that's what we do. So Science Digest, we digest science. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so listen, we've got Showbiz coming up next. I'll give you maybe a second to take a snapshot if you haven't taken it. Our board. Shall we show them? Okay.
All right.
There you have it. Thank you, Solomon, for being here.
Thank you,
we'll
madam.
see you again
Sure.
soon. Stay
Thank
with
you.
us. We've got show business coming your way.